Well, thank you, Alison. And I'm here partly, I think, to congratulate ODI on its anniversary. It's grown, flourished, become a very, very highly successful, influential institute. But also to, repay my debt, my sense of gratitude to the ODI for what I took from it. It was my first job, and I think my best job. It's a strange job in the present one. And all kind of things came out of it. Among other things, a very happy marriage, some lifelong friends. I see Lord Oakshott here, who took my bed when I left Kenya, the future brother-in-law, Peter Williams, and others I see scattered around the room. But an extraordinary kind of lifetime experience, as I think quite a lot of the ODI fellows were, plunged into ridiculous levels of responsibility at sort of mid-early 20s in an independent government where the expatriates were leaving and full Africanization hadn't arrived. And I got out of it a phenomenal amount, not quite what I gave back, I'm not sure. And I still have pangs of guilt about some of the things I did, and I occasionally have nightmares about them. One of them was that I think I perpetrated one of the world's worst development projects, and it's periodically written up in manuals of bad development projects. This was, some of you may even be aware of it. There is a region of northern Kenya called Turkana, which was very semi-arid, and it happened that President Kenyatta, who I ultimately worked for, had been in detention there during the Mau Mau emergency and felt some sense of indebtedness to the Turkana people and felt he should do something for them. And all kind of batty ideas were produced by civil servants and ministers, including building an oil refinery in the middle of this desert. There was no oil or anything like that. And anyway, but somebody turned to me and said, come up with something sensible to keep the president happy. So we devised this project, which involved building a road up through this desert. We got the Norwegians to give us some money. And the idea was to help these nomadic pastoralists become fishermen and develop their cash income and export their fish along this road. And it was a great idea. We did all our cost benefit, and it turned out wonderfully. And I left Kenya thinking I'd really bequeathed something to this country and made the president happy, among other things. And then we discovered as the years passed that what happened was that the nomadic pastoralists, of course, took the cash from the fish, bought lots more cows, and overgrazed the land, and it destroyed the environment in which they operated. And this has always now been taught as an object lesson in how not to plan development projects. The other guilt I had is that one of the things we were required to do as ODI fellows was to train our successors. And I was given a very bright young man to train and prepare to take on the mantle of responsibility. I later discovered, years later, that he became the governor of the central bank and was responsible for looting several billions of Kenya pounds, or the equivalent thereof, and clearly failed in my training. But nonetheless, for me, it was an extraordinary experience for me. I'm deeply indebted to the ODI. I think one other thing I took from that experience was that I learned, because I was one, the mindset of a Treasury official. This is now becoming a very useful skill. In fact, I was sitting, as it happens, my job in the Treasury was taking responsibility for trade and industry matters. And this afternoon I sat opposite the young man in the British Treasury who was me, was it 50, almost 40 odd years ago. And he described himself as the biz footprint in the Treasury, and I thought, the enemy. I didn't say that, no, we love them dearly. But having worked as a Treasury official, it is a lifetime experience, which I hope I'm now putting to good use. Just one final thing, which I'm now sort of learning about in my political life. One of the great achievements of the ODI, and IDS and others who worked in development, was completely transforming the way in which British politics saw aid. Many of you will remember in the 70s and 80s, It was a deeply, deeply unfashionable thing to do. It was considered a terrible waste of money, and governments competed with each other to cut the aid budget. We now have a remarkable phenomenon where a government which is desperately short of money, I can't tell you how bad it is utterly and completely committed, both sides of the coalition, to meeting this 0.7% target. It is a remarkable transformation of opinion. I fear that my testimony, when I eventually retire, will be to have served in a government that actually delivered for development, even if in the process I closed down half of Britain's universities. But nonetheless, development has been established as absolute priority, something that, you know, even competing major British institutions, and I guess the ODI, through its work and its research and its campaigning, has played a major part in that transformation. So, well done to the ODI, and thank you very, very much for having me here.